Hello all. Today I'm going to talk about our adoption journey for Padme. They have approached us to share our experience with adoption and we are very happy to do that. My name is Hymavathy and my husband is Mr. Balakrishnan, and we have a beautiful daughter together. She is 6.5 years old and her name is Anjana, and my husband is not able to be part of the interview because he's busy with his work. But me and my daughter are very much part of the interview. She is my camera girl for the interview, and she's recording the whole 20 minutes of the interview. So I'm happy to take this interview forward, and I've received the questions from Padme, so I'm going to go over each question and answer it to the best. Can you share a background of your family and where you're from? Me and my husband, we are both from Tamil Nadu. Our families are also from Tamil Nadu. And what encouraged you to consider adoption? Adoption, as any couple, we tried to have a biological child, and after 5 years of our marriage, the idea of adoption came to us through my mother-in-law, who had a friend whose family had adopted a child from Chennai. So she was talking to us about this, and that's how the idea came to our mind. And from then on, we started exploring this some time back in 2007 and 8. And we wanted to register that time, and we did, but we had to travel out of India on my husband's work, and we couldn't be here. So that time it didn't work out, and we came back again in 2012 and re-registered. So that's when we actually registered, and our baby came home. She came home as a 3.5-month-old baby in 2014. So yeah, we had a long wait though, but yeah, finally we're all one happy family. How did you broach the topic of adoption with your family? As I said, we didn't have to broach the topic. The topic came to us from within the family. So my mother-in-law is to be thanked for this whole journey, and she was the one who sowed the idea in our minds and encouraged us to take it forward. There were reservations from my mother and my father-in-law. They were not sure how successfully we will be able to take this through and whether we will be able to handle it and all. They had a lot of doubts, but the moment Anjana came home, every doubt was expelled, and she became the darling of the house. And yeah, from then on there has been no looking back for anyone in the family. It's been a great journey. The next question: how did your family and friends respond to this decision? This decision was not known to a very wide range of relatives or friends, so only within our close circles. Some of our friends whom we had taken reference letters from knew about our decision to adopt, and they were only more than happy with our decision. They were very encouraging. And my family and his family were also very supportive of our decision, and they couldn't wait for us to bring our baby home. So throughout we've had a very good support from the family and the friends who knew that we were actually in the process of adopting a baby. In fact, one of my very close friends who had given me a reference letter wanted to prepare me really well for this, and she drilled me one whole night with questions of how I would handle, what would happen if this was the case, that was the case, and she really made me very strong with my decision. Okay, started?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so my friends and family were very, very encouraging. Whoever was privy to the idea, they were really encouraging and supportive of our decision to adopt. And because our adoption also went on for about 2.5 years, there were times when it was very difficult for us to carry on. We were very depressed upset, but then they stood by us and helped us go through this whole process strongly. Do you receive intrusive question about your child's ethnic background? If so, how do you respond to it? Yes, we do receive a lot of such questions. Most of it we choose to ignore because it all comes from random strangers. From well-meaning friends or acquaintances, we've not received any such questions. But we do receive once or twice here and there. Mm, that's mainly because me and my daughter, we have absolutely no similarity. She has a northeastern background, so her features are all northeastern, and she and my husband, to a certain extent, they they can look like biological dad and daughter. But me and my daughter, in no way are we going to be looking similar. So yeah, a lot of questions like, is she from China? Is she a foreign baby?
Yeah.
She looks like a Japanese. She has small flat nose, and so many such questions. But most of them from strangers. So we just choose to smile and ignore it and walk away, because we don't need to explain it to people who have. Who are like, strangers you meet on the road. You don't need to explain yourself to them. But yeah, when it comes from somebody, some acquaintance who is meeting us for the first time, or her for the first time, then we are quite open about the whole idea. So we tell them we are an adoptive family, and that's the reason that we don't look similar to you. So, and then they're like okay about it. They don't have any further questions after that about it. Sometimes we have to use humor in some places. So I guess it's a learning process. You just learn to respond to these questions as you go along. Yeah. So the next question: what are your thoughts on matching the child with the parents in Indian context? Were there any challenges that came up for you in this aspect? For us, as I told, our child is from Northeast. Uh, the only question that our agency had was whether we were concerned that the child's features may not match ours, and we had absolutely no concerns about that. All we wanted was to bring home a baby, and it didn't matter from where she was or how she looked different from us. So for us, it was not at all a concern. However, in Indian context, I think since we are still a very traditional culture, that kind of helps the parents, adoptive parents, to get the child seamlessly integrated into their family system. And that's why, and also for the child, because in many cases I see that the parents are not open about adoption to the children yet, which I feel has to change. And I'm trying my best. I'm also working with Padme whenever I can to be a part of their awareness programs, and from my bit also I'm doing what I can to raise awareness about being open to the child, and explaining to them and making them aware that their family was formed through adoption, and because it is their story and we need to tell them, and they need to know it from the very beginning. There is nothing to hide it from them. But I know of many parents who are still not open to the idea of sharing it with their child. So I guess in those cases, when the child is matched to the parents, they don't see the need to explain to the child. Maybe that helps them, but I think that should be slowly weaned away from the system. That's my thought. So the next question is: has your child faced any challenges in school and peer settings? If so, how have you handled it? So far, I don't think she has faced any challenges in the school system or from her friends or peers. no one has had any questions to her about adoption or about the way she looks. She's been happy, and her friends have been a really great bunch of loving children. So I guess we haven't had any issues so far in that front. How and when do you plan to talk about adoption with your child? Well, I guess that's very obvious. She knows her story. We have always kept this discussion open, and we've always told her about her story, about her homecoming, and how she came about to being with us. So, you want to say something, Anjana?
Yeah. I came home 2014.
Yeah. So she came home on June 17th, 2014 as a 3.5-month-old baby. And she knows her story very well, and we've always talked to her about it. If you've already set the context of adoption, how did you navigate this with your child? We were very open about we were very clear about telling her about adoption and how she came to being with us. So we started talking to her about adoption as a concept right from her infancy. Whenever we used to tell her stories, we were always talking to her about Krishna and Karna stories, and even in my maternal grandfather is adopted, in the sense, in those days in Tamil families, they have this system of taking a son from a family if the family does not have a son, or they have only daughters, so they call it Swegaram, and so that has been in the practice. So that's how my maternal grandfather came about into our family. So it's not something new to our family, and it was not very difficult to talk about this. I think if you start being open to the idea of sharing this with your children, then it kind of becomes easier, because you have to just make it as a matter of fact and not give it a great deal of thought and make it so difficult for you as a parent or for the child. So when you make it a part of their story from their childhood, it becomes easier to discuss it with the child, and for them also to understand this better. So that's how we started talking to her about it, and age appropriately we've been telling her about her stories, and she does know she has a tummy mummy, and we do discuss. We have a lot of books about adoption, Mother for Choco, so many other books.
Bears in the Night.
Bears in the Night is different.
Oh.
So she has a lot of books, 5 or 6 books that covers this topic very nicely. So we read those books from time to time, and that's how we have set the context with her. And do you think it is important for the parents to talk to their children about their adoption status? I think I already covered this. It is very important for the parents, adoptive parents, to be open about adoption with their children, and so that the trust builds from the beginning, because you don't want to thrust upon them their story when they are about 10 or 11 years old, or when they are just entering the teenage. So when you make it a part of their story from the very beginning, it becomes easier for them, and for you as a parent to that's okay, Anjana, you don't have to show the book.
Okay.
So it becomes easier, and the relationship also builds strongly, and so I think it is very important that parents share their journey, because it is their story and they need to know their story. It is only right that they know their story from the very beginning. So we have to share it with them age appropriately, and there will be questions from them as they keep growing up, and we need to be ready to answer them openly and frankly with them. So I guess these are the questions that has been asked by Padme, and I've tried to answer them to the best I can. And so now I'm going to pose with my daughter. She wants to say bye, so we will do that together.
Yeah, but I don't know how to come.
We'll do it as a different. Switch it off.
Okay, now I have to turn or something. This or